Welcome everyone, Professor Leis here. In this video, we're going to talk about the rhetorical matrix. Now, first of all, before we proceed, I just want to apologize to any graphic designers out there for my admittedly very, very primitive graphic design skills. So just bear with me. Okay, the rhetorical matrix. Whoa. No, not that matrix, although I do love the matrix. Little fun fact. No, not that matrix. We're talking about the rhetorical matrix. Okay, so the rhetorical matrix is something that I developed to help conceptualize the way the rhetorical devices work. So think of the square as a window or lens. We can direct our lens at a given text and then analyze how the four devices contribute to the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of the argument. So we look at this little hand-drawn image done by yours truly. So it's a square, simple square, and on each of the four corners we have written ethos, pathos, kairos, logos. In the middle of the square we have the word text written, and then from each internal corner of the square we have arrows pointing toward the word text in the center. So if we think of this like a window or lens, we can begin to see how these four rhetorical devices work in concert to be able to contribute to the effectiveness, or if they're not doing a good job, ineffectiveness of an argument. Now, if we go along with the premise of Lunsford and Ruskovich's book, that everything is indeed an argument, we can then point this rhetorical matrix or use this lens at any given text, or use it on any given text to then determine what that argument is. Now, in some cases, it's going to be very apparent what the argument is, and in others, it's going to require a much more involved analysis process. But when we really apply this, we can begin to see that everything is indeed an argument in some form or other. So a way to think about this is using stand-up comedy. It's a very great genre or text writ large for applying the rhetorical matrix. So here we have some images of some stand-up comedians, past and present. While not always the case, most comedians will begin their sets by referencing the city they're performing in and some feature or event specific to that city. What's up, Long Beach City College? Before COVID-19 hit, I used to hang out at the library. Or whatever college we're attending. I'm making this video for all my schools, so Cypress, Cerritos, forgive me. Nothing personal. But when we look at that, and also forgive my poor comedy routine, it's not very good, admittedly. But most comedians in most cases, not always, but most comedians in most cases will do some form of that when they get on stage. What's up, such and such city? Man, last time I was here, I was at such and such place, and such thing happened, and the audience laughs because they recognize that place. And what is happening here? Let's think about it. So by doing this, the comedian builds a connection to the audience, which is ethos, right? So building a connection to the audience, ethos, by bringing up a specific example, which is logos and ethos, because it shows that they have a familiarity with the city, right? So that's speaking to their authority to speak on that. So they're doing this early in their set, which is kairos, because that has to do with timing or the opportune moment. And if they're a skilled comedian, this will elicit laughter from the audience, which is pathos and kairos, because comedy very much depends on timeliness, right? That's why we call it comedic timing. This has a circular effect because we tend to like and trust people who make us laugh, right? That's why when we're thinking about romantic partners, one key characteristic of desirable romantic partners is a sense of humor, right? If they can make us laugh, that's great, right? That's gold. But generally speaking, people who make us laugh also make us trust them. We like people who can do that to us, right? So comedians, when they enter the stage, as soon as they get on stage, when they give their kind of standard, what's up Seattle, what's up San Francisco, what's up Chicago, whatever it is, right? Generally speaking, they're going to give some sort of piece of evidence that they know the city in some form, right? To ingratiate the audience, right? To build that connection. This is how we can analyze a text with the rhetorical matrix. The four rhetorical devices are working together in the span of only a few moments in a comedian's set. So this isn't looking at like, oh, where's all the ethos, where's all the pathos, where's all the kairos, etc., and thinking of them as distinct and disparate things, right? They're all working together in concert. So this goes back to that example with the Beatles, right? So if we think of the moment that we're examining, so let's go back up to this visual of the rhetorical matrix. So the text that we're examining there in the stand-up comedy example is that moment when the comedian first begins their set on stage, right? So a matter of 10, 20, 30 seconds. That's the text we're examining, and we can see how ethos, pathos, logos, and kairos are all working together to do that. And so again, I want us to think of these four rhetorical devices not as distinct, separate things that are only apparent by themselves. They very much work together to achieve a desired effect, right? So emotional responses can help build credibility, and in order to elicit laughter, we might bring up a specific example at the right moment, which is kairos, and then again, going back to the reality that we tend to like people who make us laugh, right? So that goes back to ethos. All of it's very much blended together. So I want us to remember that. Don't think of these as separate, disparate, distinct things that are only working by themselves. They are always working together, just like the Beatles, and that's why we love the Beatles, right? We might like specific members of the Beatles on their own, but when they're all together, that's the Beatles. If you have any questions about this, let me know, y'all. Drop into the office hours. You can message me on Canvas. I'd love to talk to you about this stuff further.